Hi there, it's Allison Graham here, and it is Storytime Sunday, which means that I am going to be reading from my book, Married My Mom, Birth the Dog, How to Be Resilient When Life Sucks. Because let's face it, sometimes life just sucks. Sometimes it rocks, but sometimes it sucks. Okay, so each week I read a little bit to you from my book, and let's see what we're going to read. I'm just going to go and open it up to something. Oh, okay. We have not done this one yet, so let's do this. Chapter 20, The Melting Pot of Emotions. Imagine all your emotions tossed together in a huge witch's cauldron. Happiness, joy, hate, fear, anger are all boiling in the same pot, like that green goo that witches were always cooking in cartoons when we were kids. The witch would scoop up a grotesque spoonful, have a taste, and throw the rest back into the pot. She would continue to dip the spoon for more samples as different ingredients would rotate, boiling to the top. That's the trouble with our emotions. They bubble briefly to the top and then sink back down to the bottom of the brew. How long each emotion stays on top depends on whether or not we scoop them up and focus on them. Since our emotions tend to blur together, it's difficult to sift through and determine which emotions are tied to each problem and compartmentalize them accordingly. Some negative emotions, such as grief, discouragement, shame, and disappointment, can be overwhelming and all encompassing, overshadowing all other issues and feelings. If you're not careful, they will become the lens through which you feel everything. Which is not good, by the way. A breakup is a great example of the sort of incidents that enable our negative emotions to take over in inappropriate ways. Perhaps you've been dumped or had a big fight with your significant other. Suddenly, you are in a nasty mood, and the dark cloud taints your every interaction with coworkers. The office is on edge all day because you've got an atypical sharp edge to your personality. Like most lessons, this one I learned the hard way too. One of my public speaking colleagues, whom I met with frequently in our mastermind group, had just hired another person to help her with her business planning. I was surprised she didn't ask me because I would have been gladly helped her. I'm pretty good at seeing the holes in people's marketing and sales processes, which is exactly what she needed. That's my other company, right? Elevate Biz. I mean, that's what I do. I help people in that. Anyhow, back to the book, Storytime Sunday, not Talking Alley Day. When I asked her about her decision, she told me, since you were always complaining about your business in our mastermind sessions, I didn't think you were successful enough to actually help me. Oh, that stung. Here I had been complaining about my overall business, but in truth, most aspects were really going quite well. As an entrepreneur, I have high expectations and I tended to never be satisfied. By the same token, I had difficulty acknowledging my wins. May have succeeded in many areas, but I couldn't take my eyes off the failure over there. My grumbling was evidence that I was continually grabbing massive amounts of disappointment from the cauldron of goo and rubbing that negative goo over my entire business rather than just spreading it on a few specific areas of frustration. A better way to handle those masterminds would have been to be clearer about my real struggles. That goo of disappointment that I splashed all around could have been more accurately applied to my real problems, which were the restraints that my physical limitations put on the amount of business I could accept, and my dwindling interest in repeating the same content over and over. I was constantly comparing myself to others in the group who were doing training sessions for clients 3 to 5 days a week. As a result, I assumed that was the standard it took to be considered successful. Anything less than that high volume meant failure. But I wasn't capable of that pace. So measuring my success against those speakers was pointless. Between consulting gigs, training sessions, and keynotes, I was already fully tapped out. And in add in media, sales activities, and prep time for my clients. And I couldn't have handled more even if new opportunities were coming flying through the door. Instead of complaining about my business in general, it would have been better if I confided in my colleagues that the pain meant that I was now working at maximum output, which was less than I accomplished pre-surgery. I could have admitted that I thought I was a failure because I wasn't living up to my pre-surgery activity level and that I needed to learn to leverage my time better. Plus, at that time, not now, but then, I was bored out of my mind. Had I have shared these concerns, I might have gotten much more useful feedback from my colleagues, and these separate issues were solvable, but dealing with the whole confusing pot of goo was not. Dissing my whole business because of capacity and motivation issues wasn't useful. So interesting, because it goes on to tell you, like, had I have talked about those things, I wouldn't have discredited myself as a business consultant in those masterminding sessions. And, you know, this was a while ago, by the way. I mean, obviously, I've figured that out now. And the truth was, I was helping my clients significantly. And, you know, that one person, that colleague, ended up having a really, like, the person she hired for like quadruple the amount of money I would ever cost, basically did nothing. So that sucks even worse. Anyway, so we want to focus on the right thing, the right issue, and the right time. And right now, the issue is if you do or do not have this book, because some of these stories that I'm pulling out, you kind of need to know what happened before in order for the story to make sense. Okay. I hope you can tell it's really authentic. It's from the heart. It is. I didn't use a filter. Well, there are two things that I took out of the book. Because I didn't feel they added anything and I didn't have a solution for them. But other than that, there's no filter in here at all. So I tell you my mistakes so you can feel, you know, hopeful if you've made similar ones or better about yourself because you haven't made these ones and you can see that somebody else has succeeded in business because of it. Anyway, there you go. See me, resiliencyninja.com. Pick up your copy of the book if you don't have it yet. And check in every Sunday for Storytime Sunday. And of course, the rest of the week, I'm sharing other pieces of different tools to serve you. So thank you for tuning in. And until next time, say it with me.